Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. My name is Chukwudi Ekwani. Do you know that when someone meets you for the first time, it takes only about 7 seconds for the person to either decide to trust you or not to trust you? Yeah, and studies have shown this. It's not me talking. Don't take my word for it. What I'm about to share to you today is for those people who are leaders or they want to be leaders and they want their followers to do whatever they say or they want to have positive influence on their followers. If you are this kind of individual, then this video is for you. Now, I want to also let you know that people judge you not by what you say, but by what you do. In other words, eloquence is not equal to influence. You know, this brings me to a story of a friend of mine. We both came to a church newly, and after seeing things that happened in that church, we decided to stay. And there's something that that this friend of mine has. He has a gift, what we call the gift of the gab. That's someone that talks a lot, and he talks so eloquently. He talks very well. And at first, the impression that people had towards him was good, was positive, judging by the way he talked, and people respected him a lot. You know, you can go very far when you are an eloquent speaker. But as time went by, people began to discover that this person does not do the talk. He only talks the talk. He says something and he expects people to do what he said, and he is excluded from doing what he says. You know, it kind of reminds me of what Jesus Christ said about the Pharisees in the Bible. He says, do what they say, don't do what they do. There are Pharisees, they're hypocrites. And hypocrites are people who like to give orders, they like to give rules, but they themselves don't keep the rules. And I'm afraid to say many leaders of today, they are actually under these categories. They are hypocrites. They put out laws that they cannot keep. And it happens in every level of organization, from the family up to the government. It happens like that. Our character should tally at all times with our words. It makes our words to have more power. When we say something, it is respected because people know that you are not only saying it for them, you're also saying it for yourself. There's a quote. I don't know who made this quote, but the quote says, I'm going to read it from my laptop. It says, your words may inspire people, but your character is what keeps them listening. Your words can inspire, your words can teach. I mean, when people hear you, they'll be like, wow, this guy knows how to talk. But what makes them to continue listening to you is your character. That means that people will actually listen to you at first. But when they begin to realize or discover that this guy is just words, he is just an empty barrel. Of course, an empty barrel makes the loudest noise. It's just an empty barrel. People will no longer listen to you. When you're even talking, some people are yawning. Some people are giving you that, like whatever face. Nobody really wants to listen to you because, for goodness sake, whatever he's saying, he can't even do it. So why is he saying all these things? When you hear him talk, you would think that he's all that. Whereas even all these things he's saying, he himself can't even do it. That is how people will look you, and you will lose respect from people because you don't do the things you say. You only expect others to do them. There are many people in history that are known to be good and powerful leaders. And these people became good and powerful leaders not because they had oratory prowess, though some of them did have oratory prowess. But it wasn't because of that. That was not what made them great leaders. What actually made them great leaders was their character. People actually saw that what these people say is what they do. They saw that their character reflected in their words. It wasn't just mouth only. They were not dictators, they were real leaders. And just to mention a few of them, I wrote them down here. George Washington, for example, was a great leader. I heard there was a documentary about him that I was listening to when I was still a little boy when I listened to that documentary, because I love listening to documentaries. I love listening to biographies. I love listening to podcasts about these great men. If you want a very good podcast that talks about great people, I will advise you to go check out How to Take Over the World. Yeah. You can check it on Spotify or any other podcast platform. There you will learn much about many of these leaders, how they rose, how they fell. But that is by the way anyway. So George Washington, what I got to know about him in that documentary was that he was always in battle. He was always at the forefront of the army. He was always at the front. He is the first to charge. It just reminds me of this guy in Lord of the Rings. I can't remember his name. It's not Legolas. That's the leader. He's a human being. I remember he made a speech. And then after he made the speech, he was the first person to forge forward to fight the enemy. That is what a leader is. And when your followers or when your soldiers see that, hey, this guy is forging ahead, there's this kind of courage that you give to them to also forge ahead. Now, I'm not saying you should go and fight any battle. That is not what I'm trying to say. But what I'm trying to say is that if you instigate something, or if you start something, or if you put out a law or you try to encourage your people or your team, and you happen to be the first person to go ahead and do that thing, you are encouraging your followers to also do the same thing. You are becoming very influential. That is George Washington. Another person who was a great leader in history that I learned about was Mahatma Gandhi. When he was fighting the English, there were many times they went on hunger strike. And he didn't just tell the people to go on hunger strike while he was eating meat pie or while he was eating burger. No. When he told the people to go on hunger strike, he also went on hunger strike. I think the longest hunger strike they ever went was about 24 days. You can let me know in the comments if I'm wrong. About 24 days or thereabouts. He was also there. Another great leader was Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela fought for black freedom. That is what he was popularly known for. And because of this mindset, or because of this revolution, he was even imprisoned. Now, guess what? While he was in prison, there were many deals that were brought to him. Hey, if you decide to do this, we are going to let you go. If you do this, we're going to let you go. They were exchanging his loyalty for his freedom. They wanted him to denounce his belief for his freedom. And guess what Nelson Mandela did? He didn't consent. He stayed in prison until he was finally released. I know of the late Dr. Miles Monroe. He talked about this same Nelson Mandela. He said that there was a time that they were seated. Dr. Miles Monroe, he was an advisor to presidents and to some other great CEOs like that. He was in this conference or in this gathering of great men, great leaders. And he said, according to him, that Nelson Mandela walked into the room. And as soon as he walked into the room, there was a change in the atmosphere. Even he, Dr. Miles Monroe, who happened not just to be an advisor, he's also a gospel preacher. Even he felt the influence of this man that is seemingly a human being, but because he had this character about him, it made the whole room silent for some time. That is the power of character. It amplifies your influence. It makes your influence stronger. And finally, we know about Jesus Christ himself. He was not just a great teacher, but he was also a great leader. He preached. As a matter of fact, there's something about all these leaders that I found common. They weren't, you couldn't really differentiate them from their followers? They were very simple in their mode of living. They were very simple in doing things. There are leaders we have today that, looking at them alone, you know that, yes, this is a leader. Sometimes you can even take them to be the boss. Why? Because their standard of living is quite different from the standard of living of their followers. It's not the same thing. They live more comfortable than their followers. What they have, their followers don't have. They live in big houses. They live in big mansions. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but that is what is happening, which these other leaders didn't do. They live in big houses, big mansions, riding big cars, but their followers didn't do all those things. As a matter of fact, there's a place in the Bible, I think it's in the book of Leviticus, where God was talking to the people of Israel, and he was telling them that, look, if you ever decide to have a king, or if you ever decide to be ruled by a king or by a leader, these are the things that the leader or the king should do and should not do. And on that list, one of the things he mentioned is that he shouldn't amass for himself horses, houses, mansions, and all that. I don't know. Let me see if I can look it up. All right, I think I found it. It's in the book of Deuteronomy chapter 17, verse 16. It says that the king, moreover, must not acquire great numbers of horses for himself, or make the people return to Egypt to get more of them. For the Lord has told you are not to go that way again. Another version says in the book, and that's in a New Living Translation, it says, the king must not build up a large stable of horses for himself, or send his people to Egypt to buy horses. You see that? So God was trying to say that as a leader, be simple. No one is saying you shouldn't live comfortably, but be able to give example, to lay good example for your followers to follow. When you begin to lead like this, and your followers know that you care so much about them that you can even lay your life for them, they can do anything for you. They can go to the moon for you. I remembered a movie I watched, I think it was Transformers, The Age of Extinction, and there was a part I loved when the Autobots were in hiding. They were all in hiding because of what the American government was doing, something like that. Maybe cooperation with the CIA, something like that. And they were all in hiding, including Optimus Prime, who happened to be their leader. I love the character of Optimus Prime so much because there's something he had. If you happen to help him in something, he can lay down his life for you. And he's a good leader in the sense that whatever he says, he does. And so he sent a transmission to all the Autobots to assemble, and they all assembled, and he told them, how Optimus Prime does now. He gives very good speech. He's good, he's eloquent, but he was also good in influence. So he gave a very good speech. And then he told them what they should do. And one of them said something about Optimus Prime. I will paraphrase because I don't know the exact thing he said. He said, this guy, oh my God, that he gives him chills, that he can do anything for this guy. He can lay his life for this guy. That was what the guy said. That is the power of a leader that has character. A leader that has character has a powerful influence on his people. What about David? He's another great leader. Time will not allow me to talk about David. There was a time that David was thirsty. 3 of his great men, this guy they entered enemy territory to fetch water from a well and bring back to David. This guy didn't care if they were going to die for him, because they know that if David were in their shoes, David will do the same. That is what your people should think about you. They should say, look, I know that this guy, if he were in my shoes, he will do the same thing for me. And not just being bossy. There's a difference between a boss and a leader. A boss says, you guys go. A leader says, let's go. And many times when he even says, let's go, he's the first to start going. So how do people subconsciously judge you by your character? The first way is how you treat people who can't do anything. How do you treat people that can't do anything? How do you treat the common man? Do you treat him like trash? Or do you treat him the way you treat every other person? I think it was James in the Bible that said something like this. Some of you, when a rich man comes into your church, you give him the highest seat. And then those ones who are not rich, you make them to sit down on the floor. That is not correct. That is what it should be. You should treat everybody equally. Now we mistake honor for right treatment, which will be another thing that we are going to be discussing. You know, some people feel that when you do these things to these people, you are honoring them. It's not like you are trying to be partial and fine, no problem. We'll discuss about that some other time, not today. Another way people judge you by your character is your integrity. Like I said before, do your words match with your actions? Or do you just talk to sound eloquent and sound, oh, wonderful, but you don't even do what you say? Another way is they judge you is how do you act when you are under pressure? Oh, that is one of the tests of character. When you're under pressure, when you pass through fire, what comes out? Is it pure gold or is it ashes? Your character. I'm not talking to you alone. I'm also talking to myself. I'm talking to myself because I myself, I have a long way to go. I'm very honest with you. I have a long way to go, but I'm trying my best to ensure that my words tally with what I say, to ensure that I compose myself even under pressure. When things don't go the way you plan, when things are not going well, when people accuse you or do things. For example, Jesus, it happened to him. His disciples ran away from him. Peter denied him. Judas Iscariot betrayed him. Did he change? The same Dr. Miles Monroe said something. He said that the character of a person should be like a statue. And he talked about the statue of a certain English queen. I think it's, what is her name? I think it was Queen Victoria. Forgive me if I'm wrong. Queen Victoria, that there's a statue in their country of Queen Victoria. That if rain, come snow, come heavy wind, come storm, whenever you go there, you still see Queen Victoria that same way. She doesn't change her position. That the word statue comes from the word status, which is related to character. So when the wind comes, when things are not palatable, how do you behave? Do you change your character? Sometimes it has happened. Let me just make a confession. It has happened to me before that I behave well, but when I'm under pressure, there was something that happened to me and I was falsely accused. And I told myself that, look, you know what? Let me even begin to behave this way that they're accusing me of behaving. So that when they're accusing me, I'll know that, yes, I did it. And I just didn't care anymore. I just didn't care anymore. So I've fallen victim too. So I'm not talking like as someone who is perfect. I'm talking as someone who just wants to share this message because it has happened to me. It's part of my experience. That is one of the ways of testing your character. That's one of the ways people know if you are truly a person of character. There's a quote again that says that the true test of character is what you do when no one is watching. What do you do when no one is watching? What do I do when no one is watching? That thing you display outside that everybody sees and they were like, wow, this guy is a good guy, is what we call reputation. But that thing you do on the inside when nobody is watching, that is what we call character. So the question now is your character and reputation the same thing? If it's not the same, then you have work to do. I know I have work to do. Because to be very honest with you, my reputation is not the same as my character. I'm still working on it. So what do we do to build influence? The first thing we need to do is that we will always make sure that our words tally with our actions. Don't say one thing and you're doing something else. Number 2, treat people the same way, whether it's a CEO or a janitor. treat them the same way, because we are all in the image of God. The janitor you are seeing today may be the president tomorrow, or is the CEO of a company tomorrow. Even if he doesn't become the CEO of a company tomorrow, still treat him because he's a human being like you and I. Secondly, or rather thirdly, you must learn to lead by example. Let people see you do the things you say. Don't lead by hypocrisy, but lead by example. And then finally, we must learn to look at long-lasting trust and not short-term attention. Many of us just want people to just know us just for now. Wow, this guy is good. Wow, this guy is great. And we don't care about what they see us to be in the next 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years. If I want short-term attention, I will be talking like that my friend was talking, the one I told you in the beginning of this video. That is short-term attention. But if I want long-term, I don't need to talk like that at first. Just like what happened with that story about me and my friend. Let me complete it. People were following him. People liked him. But I was the introvert. I didn't talk much. But people liked him. People followed him. But by the time they saw that this guy is not really genuine, he doesn't do what he says, people no longer took his words seriously. I was the one they began to take seriously because my character spoke for me and not my words. So wherever you find yourself, wherever you are, if you want influence, if you want to influence the people around you, always make sure that your actions speak louder than your words, and let them speak positively. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did enjoy it, then consider subscribing to this channel. Like this video so that the YouTube algorithm will spread it to more people. Speaking of spread, also share it. And then I would like to have your comments. Of course, all those things that I couldn't mention, maybe what do you think about Optimus Prime? Is he a good leader? And why do you think so? Like questions like that. Or if there are facts that I missed, be friendly in the comment section and let me know. If you liked what I spoke about today, also let me know. Don't be shy, okay? So that is all I have for you today, and I'll be seeing you in the next video. Have a lovely day. Bye.